Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a really surprising twist in the housing market. For decades, it's been a given new homes cost more than existing ones. But what if that's just not true anymore? For years, that question had an obvious answer. Of course, a new home costs more. But what if I told you that when it comes to what you actually pay every single month, that's just not the case anymore? The data we're about to look at is pretty much rewriting the rules of home buying. Okay, so at first glance, the sticker prices seem to back up what we all think. You look at the data from the third quarter of 2025, and yeah, the median list price for a new home is about $41,000 higher. So, case closed, right? Well, not so fast. So, what is the actual difference in the typical monthly payment between a brand new home and an existing one? It's this: $30. That's it. Just 30 bucks. And that tiny, almost insignificant gap is where our story really gets interesting. A $40,000 price difference on paper that just shrinks down to $30 a month? I mean, how is that even possible? It sounds kind of like a magic trick, but it's not. There's one major force at play, and it's aggressively slamming that gap shut. And here's the key. According to Realtor.com's senior economist Joel Berner, this isn't really about the list price you see online. The real story is about the powerful incentives that builders are using to lure in buyers and, keep their new houses from just sitting there. So what's their most effective tool? It's something called a mortgage rate buy down. Basically, the builder pays a fee to the lender to buy down your interest rate, making it lower, at least for the first few years. As market rates climbed like crazy, builders realized they could offer buyers a much, much lower rate, making their more expensive homes suddenly feel a whole lot more affordable every month. And this chart just lays it out perfectly. In the third quarter of 2025, buyers of existing homes were getting an average rate of 6.26%. But buyers of new construction, they were locking in rates around 5.27%. That's a gap of almost a full percentage point. That is huge, and it completely changes the math for anyone trying to buy a home. And they're not stopping with just lower rates. Builders are getting really creative. They're offering credits to cover your closing costs, and in some cases, they're even willing to accept smaller down payments. Each one of these things is designed to tackle the biggest affordability problems that buyers are up against in today's market. This all sounds pretty great for buyers, but is this deal available everywhere? Well, the answer is no. The national average is actually telling a story about some very specific parts of the country. The reality is, these national numbers are being skewed and skewed heavily by what's happening in the South. In places like Texas and Florida, there's just a massive volume of new construction being built for around $350,000. Now, you compare that to the Northeast, say Connecticut, where a new build is usually a multi-million-dollar luxury home. It's the sheer number of those lower-cost Southern homes that's pulling the whole national average down. And this isn't just some random fluke. It's a trend that's been building for a few years. It really started picking up speed back in 2022 when mortgage rates started that steep climb. By the middle of 2023, the gap had almost completely vanished, which leads us to where we are today, with that tiny $30 monthly difference. Which, of course, brings us to the most important question for anyone even thinking about buying a home. Is this what we should expect now? Is this tiny gap between new and existing homes the new normal, or is the market about to do another 180? Well, experts like Joel Berner, they're predicting a return to a more traditional market. They see two things coming down the pike. First, as more existing homes finally come onto the market, sellers are going to have to lower their high expectations, causing prices to level off. At the same time, builders who are dealing with their own rising costs will probably slow down and shift their focus to what makes them the most money: high-end luxury projects. You put those two things together, and that price gap is going to start widening right back up again. So what does all this mean for you? Well, the key takeaway is that the housing market isn't just one big thing. Right now, there's this really interesting window of opportunity where builder incentives have made new homes surprisingly competitive. Understanding these dynamics, the why, the where, and for how long, is the most powerful tool you've got. The question is, will you be able to take advantage of it before that gap starts to widen again?